edition of East Coast Bias. As the boys are back by popular demand, we have a whole lot of NFL action to break down, kicking off the holiday season with a bang on FanDuel TV, of course, on the Ringer Gambling Show. It's John Jastremski, Joe House, Raheem Palmer, and guys, I hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving. I know by my backdrop, it looks like we're in the giving spirit. It looks like we're in the holiday season type of mode. Not for me right out of the gate. You're going to get a little Grinch. You're going to get a little Ebenezer Scrooge because Joe House, Raheem Palmer. I am still a bruised, battered, and beaten man after what I saw Monday night. And I know it's Thursday morning, and I know a couple of days have passed. I, for one, am still not over what happened on Monday Night Football between the Broncos and the Browns. And I will say without hesitation, it was one of the worst gambling losses I have ever had. I don't think I'm being dramatic. I don't think this is hyperbole. The Browns should have won the game. When Jameis Winston is chucking for over 400 yards and gets whatever he wants and has the ball down to, it's over. It's done. To lose that bet house on 2 pick sixes and then the ultimate last kick in the face is for them to get down to the 2-yard line. And then he throws another interception. You can't make it up, Alice. I'm sick.
It wasn't just the money line that went bye-bye. The cover went bye-bye with that last play as well. The backdoor cover was staring us in the face. I'm sorry. Look, JJ, the calendar has flipped. It is time to put on your happy face. We have nothing but beautiful presents and all of the festivities in front of us. Surround yourself with the goodness of friends and family and the traditions that we have to celebrate ourselves together, because Jameis, what a present. What a present. He's back in our lives. It's absolutely marvelous. I lost on the money line. I lost the cover. And I'm here to tell you I enjoyed every minute of it.
You know what it is, House? I love the Jameis experience. It is entertaining. It was probably one of the most entertaining Monday night. It was the most entertaining Monday night game we've had all year. And it probably was one of the most entertaining games we've seen in the NFL this season. But the gambling instincts of everything I saw in that game, again, if you would have saw Jameis Winston's stat line at the beginning of the night, Raheem, and you would tell me that he wouldn't go and cover 6.5 points, I would have called you insane.
Let me put this into perspective. Do you know what the NFL passing record is for the most yards in one game?
What is it, 540?
It's 554. So Jameis Winston threw 497 passing yards. Guess how many interception yards he threw? 171. So he shattered the record.
He shattered the record.
So it's just at this point in time, all you can do is just laugh and enjoy the full Jameis Winston experience. I mean, every pass that he throws can be a 50-yard touchdown, or it could be a pick six. There's no in between. Something is going to happen. It's like playing Russian roulette, and you just got to enjoy it for what it is.
And we are going to have more opportunities, and we'll get into one right out of the gate with Jameis Winston and the Browns on a short week going into Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers, who have been cover machines. They've been one of the best teams against the spread all year. And, Raheem, there's obviously no love lost between the Browns and the Steelers. We witnessed that when we broke down the Thursday night game just 2 weeks ago. So you're going to get both teams' best efforts. Normally in these sort of games, I always say, take the dog, take the dog, take the dog. But is there a fear factor twofold? One, short week for the Browns. Two, the Jameis effect that maybe would have you queasy on taking Cleveland plus the points?
Yeah, I'm not taking Cleveland with the points. I just can't do it. And I just think at some point in time, like those interceptions are just, they're tough. And it's just, at the end of the day, we know an interception is probably worth about 5 points to the spread. And he's throwing interceptable passes every single day. So the number might say take Cleveland, but I'm just going to stay off this game completely. I think one thing that you do want to monitor if you're betting this game is if Alex Highsmith is playing, because, he plays a key role in the Steelers defense. But me personally, I just want to stay away from this game. It's just, it's a very tough game to play.
House, can I tempt you to get in on the Jameis? I'm not. I can't. I will not go near this game, but I know you're a sucker for some Jameis Winston. Can you be tempted here?
No, I totally agree with Dreams. Cap, if you have to play a side, because of a picks pool or something, Cleveland is the side. You just have to hold your nose. You will see over the course of the end of the week into the weekend, all of the numbers about Pittsburgh of a favorite of this magnitude in a divisional game, and how it tends to be like in the 35 to 40% range that Pittsburgh covers, but we've seen the circumstances under which Cleveland can be their own worst enemy. The way I'm going to play this game, I definitely want to have a little taste on the over, because I am a sucker for the moment. We just saw both offenses and both defenses give up so much yards and points. So I'll probably have a small taste on the over, monitoring the weather, of course.
Yeah, I want to add on to that. The interesting thing is that since Jameis Winston has taken over this offense, all of the games, I think there's been 5 games, have gone over except for one. You look at the Ravens game, 29-24. Saints, 35-14. Steelers, 24-19 in the snow. Broncos, 41-32. The only game that went under was the Chargers game. The Chargers put up 27 points and only gave up 10. So it's a situation to where you look at the Browns, they give up a lot of explosive plays. And we saw that Monday night with Bo Nix. If there's one thing that Russell Wilson can do, is he can throw that deep ball. So I agree with House's case on the over. I think this number is a little bit short, and it's still pricing in the Browns from when they had Deshaun Watson, and we know he was hot trash.
I love the fact that we were able to come out of the gate guns a-blazing with a breakdown of a game. Didn't have that scripted per se, but you know what? When you go from Jameis, you might as well get Browns Steelers right out of the way, and we got a lot more Week 14 analysis coming your way. Chargers Chiefs we will get to, Bills Rams we will get to, Cardinals Seahawks, which to me is the biggest game of the week. We got you covered across the board. Now, I want to hit on this before we get to the Thursday night game. That is very, very good, House. Denver. Big win for them. They're in the playoff race. They obviously are thinking about things, saying, hey, if we can find a way to get to 2 more wins, I think they're probably sitting pretty and they're going to end up a playoff team. If there was a silver lining for me, House, I had Cleveland. I took Cleveland plus the 5.5, 6.5, whatever the hell the number was. I added Denver minus or over 9.5 wins before the game. Got it at even money. House, I know the schedule's tough. It is tough. They're going to play the Chargers. They're going to play Kansas City. We'll see what the motivation is there. Cincinnati still is a game that's not a given for them, because I think Cincinnati, as long as Joe Burrow's out there, they're obviously offensively dangerous. Would you feel good after what you saw Monday night from the Broncos? Got away with one, but still found a way to win the game. You think they're getting to 10 wins?
Let me hear what you got on price before I give my answer.
Even money. I'll give you the price. Money. Even money.
Okay. So they're home against the Chargers, and I'm sorry, they're home against the Colts as their
huge
next
game next week. Massive game.
Right. And I like that situation for Denver's defense. They always have a home field advantage that's underrated. And then going down the list, in fact, these are really de facto playoff games for Denver. Home against the Colts and then on the road at the Chargers. So, if they split those, they get the Bengals. Now they're at the Bengals. And what motivation will the Bengals have? And then they're home for the Chiefs. What motivation will the Chiefs have? I don't think that's a bad bet, JJ. I think you're in the ballpark here.
I don't like the bet.
Ooh, okay. So you're after what is this based upon, Raheem, what you saw on Monday night, or is this just a whole microcosm of the season?
It's the schedule. It's what I saw last night. And it's what I saw the last 2 weeks. The Raiders should have covered that game, and the Raiders have not been good. So, the Broncos defense, it's pretty clear that they're pretty overrated. And I think we saw that last night. And I think Indianapolis can score. I think the Chargers should be able to just put up a decent fight. We saw them beat them earlier this year. I think the Bengals, even if they're eliminated at that point, I still think there's a source of pride that comes with having Joe Burrow as your quarterback.
Especially if he's playing, Raheem. Excellent point. If he's playing, that's a game. I got to be honest. I think Cincinnati would probably be favored in Cincinnati. I think they'd be favored in that game.
And I also think Kansas City will be playing for something because they still have to compete for that first round bye, and they have Buffalo breathing down their neck. They could lose that game against the Steelers. There's just so many different factors. You're asking them to go 2-2, and not only they're going 2-2, you got 2 road games. And it's just, you got road games against Indianapolis and road games against Kansas City, and their home games aren't gimmies.
Maybe this is a little bit of an emotional hedge to try to get the Dolphins in the playoffs. Maybe that's what I'm trying to do here, guys. I do think they'll find a way, though, Raheem. I know your point. I understand your point. Defense might be a little fraudulent, but you're seeing a little coming of age here from young Bo Nix. And I'll give the Broncos this. They're finding ways to win these games. They have. They did against the Raiders, as ugly as it was. They did against the Browns, thanks to Jameis Winston. Finding ways to win, I think it speaks volumes to the fact that they're well coached, which is something that some of the other teams around the sport are not. I mean, you got Sean Payton coaching up Bo Nix pretty well for a rookie, just saying.
Without a doubt. I can't argue with that at all. I definitely can't argue with that at all.
But hopefully you're right on this. I'd be more than happy to donate to FanDuel on the under at 9.5 if it could be a team from South Florida that's getting that final playoff spot. All right, we got a lot more coming your way in this loaded Thursday edition of East Coast Bias. We'll have a breakdown. Packers, Lions, very interesting Thursday night game. Packers, I think they're one of those teams that's kind of on that can't they go and win a Super Bowl? I think Thursday's a big litmus test for them. We got thoughts. We got takes. We've been good on these Thursday night games. As bad as we've been, well, at least not Raheem. Me and House on the Wise Wager, we have stunk. We've been really good when we unite on Thursday night. So let's try to keep that going here on East Coast Bias. The rest of Week 14, we're coming at you. We're coming right back. Boys, before we begin, and we'll dissect this game every which way, plays against the spread, take a look at the total, try to identify a couple of props we like. House, yay or nay? Are the Packers on your list of teams that can win a Super Bowl?
Yes, they are. Now, the one sort of caveat is, I need some reassurance out of their special teams. If I could get myself there with the special teams, then I think they absolutely are a viable contender for a team that could get hot on a run here. They certainly have it on the offensive side of the ball. The improvements in scheme on defense are there, and we'll have the chance to do some of this in the handicap against the Lions. But yes, they are on my list of the 6 or 7 teams that I think have a viable path.
Yeah, they're definitely on my list as well. I'm seeing a team who has a lot of upside. They have a ton of receivers. They have a good running game. The defense forces turnovers. Like House said, you got to get the special teams together. The kicker has not been where you want it to be, but also they got to be able to finish drives. They haven't been able to do that all year long. Now they are improving. A couple of weeks ago when they played San Francisco, I said they were like 26th or 27th in red zone touchdown percentage. They're now up to 15th. So if they can finish drives, and if Jordan Love can stay healthy, because I think that was the big issue with this team through the first half of the year. If he can stay healthy, they're definitely a team I can see making a run. And I also think they have value on their Super Bowl futures at this point in time.
Let's make it 3 for 3 on this. I absolutely think they can win a Super Bowl. Now, will they is an entirely different conversation, but I think there's another level this Packer team can get to, which is crazy to say because you look at the record, you say, wow, they're 9-3. JJ, what are you talking about? Next level? No, I think there's another level. I don't think Jordan Love has played as good a football as he did down the stretch of last year. If he can get to that, you get a couple of these injured bodies back, the physicality of the Green Bay Packers is super impressive. And I think we saw that where they absolutely punked the Miami Dolphins last Thursday night in that game they played on Thanksgiving. From an offensive line standpoint, from a run game standpoint, from their defense getting after you, they have a lot of physicality they bring to their team, and they're going to need that physicality down the stretch of this year, and specifically in this game against the Lions. So, House, we know what the narrative is. The Lions beat the Packers at Lambeau Field earlier in the year. Jordan Love threw a terrible pick six, basically ended up deciding the game, and the Lions were able to run and hide in the second half. The Lions, however, are going into this game pretty depleted, and they were dropping like flies if you watch their game on Thursday against the Chicago Bears. And as those defensive injuries began to mount and they started to pile up more and more and more, you saw Caleb Williams go and have more and more success. I'm going to start the proceedings here, guys. I think 3.5 is too many points. I'm going to be on the Green Bay Packers. And not only am I going to grab the 3.5, I think Green Bay, like they did last year on Thanksgiving, is going to go into Detroit and beat the Lions. Gut feel, I know the Lions have been great. I know they cover basically every single week. I didn't love what I saw in that Bear game. And I think the Packers are going to start to ascend here as this season moves into December. House, give me Green Bay, but I like them outright on Thursday night.
Yeah, JJ, I will confess, in my research of this game, the handicap, I had a lean based on what we saw on Thanksgiving, and the research was really validating the direction I'm headed. I will tell you, my research included Green Bay on the money line, plus 142. I am right there with you. We are in lockstep, brother. Now, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing because our wisest wagers have not been terrific, but we have been very good on Thursday Night Football.
We're the king of Thursday, House. We're the Thursday boys, you know?
So, at the beginning of the week on East Coast Bias, we talked about the value of Green Bay as a teaser candidate. So what I did immediately was grab Denver from 6.5 down to a 0.5 point. Them going ahead and clinching that helped wipe away some of the bad taste of losing my Browns money. And here we are sitting with the Packers catching 9.5 on a teaser leg. I want to respect the gambling gods. I won't get ahead of myself, but you hinted at it. The Detroit Lions have been absolutely decimated on the defensive side of the ball. Since September the 15th, they have 15 players go on IR, either missing the remainder of the season or extended time out. 12 of those players are on defense. They have their entire linebacking core out. All of their starting linebackers are out for this upcoming game. They are in a position where they have backups that are now getting injured and missing. So on their front seven, they've been, to their credit, able to get some pressure against some of the offenses they've been going up against. But that front seven has injuries as well. And then you can go back. Carlton Davis just missed the second, against the game against the Bears. So that secondary with injuries. I think Green Bay is in a prime spot here to even the score and honestly make a viable run at winning the division. Now, and they have to win this game to maintain that status. But you look at who the Lions have beaten in terms of offenses really since the end of October. It is not exactly a murderer's row. They've been up against the following quarterbacks. They had Mason Rudolph with Tennessee. Then they played the Packers with an injured Jordan Love. They had C.J. Stroud without Nico Collins. Mac Jones, Anthony Richardson, and Caleb Williams, none of those quarterbacks, taking Jordan Love out of it, who was hurt, are in the all of them are the bottom 10 of EPA. So, Dream, I'm on this Packers side. I like the points. I like the money line. It's Packers all day for me.
Yeah, I think House hit the nail on the head. I mean, obviously, you mentioned the linebackers, Alex Anzalone, Malcolm Rodriguez, both of those guys being out. But when you have guys like DJ Reader, Aiden Hutchinson is already out. This defense is absolutely bombed out and depleted. And at some point, it has to catch up to you. And I think that point is now. And I think you saw it in the second half of that Bears game. The Bears probably should have won that game, but Matt Eberflus and Caleb Williams, they just couldn't get their stuff together. And I don't think that's going to be an issue for the Packers. Now, the one thing I will say is that the Packers are going to have to figure out how to score in the red zone. We know that this Lions team, they shut teams down in the red zone, but if everybody's hurt, that kind of negates a lot of that. So I agree with you guys on the Packers. I want to take them at 3.5. I agree with you guys on the money line, but I think if you're looking at some props, I think you want to look at Josh Jacobs over. I think his over is 70.5 right now. And if you look at the first game in which they played, he rushed 13 times for 95 yards. And now this run defense has gotten even worse. So I think this is a game where Josh Jacobs should be able to get off. You look at the Packers, when they played the Dolphins, they knew that the Dolphins had all of those injuries in the secondary, so they didn't even bother to run the ball. So I think this is a game where the Packers actually, they look to run the ball against this Lions defense and take some pressure off of Jordan Love. So I agree with you guys on the Packers, but I definitely want some Josh Jacobs props.
Sign me up for a little JJ action. Josh Jacobs, 80-plus yards. Maybe Josh Jacobs to go and score a touchdown. May have to incorporate that in our little Green Bay equation. Now, Raheem, the total in this game opened at 48. It has skyrocketed to 51.5. That is a very, very high total for a Thursday night. But you mentioned the injuries on Detroit's defense. Detroit obviously is an explosive, high-octane offense that scores a ton of points. I feel much better about Green Bay than I do the total in this game, but do we have a lean or a feel on 51.5?
Yeah, I'm right on market with this game, so I'm not gonna touch it. I have it around 50, so I'm gonna stay off of this one, but I don't think it's a bad bet if you're looking towards the over between these two teams when you consider the defensive injuries to Detroit, and then when you look at what Detroit has done in a dome. I mean, this is a dome game, so you could see a high scoring affair here.
Yeah, you're supposed to play the under in this circumstance. Divisional game unders from week 14 forward, where you have a favorite that's less than 7 points, 58% to the under. Dan Campbell is an under when the game total is 51 points. The under on Thursday night games when the total is 51 points, 29-1. Shouts to Brandon Anderson for all that good data. But the problem is exactly what we've talked about, what Dream just hit on. Detroit is perfectly healthy on offense, with the one exception. They have a left tackle who's dinged up, and the replacement for that left tackle is not very good. But otherwise, you expect Detroit game plan wise to want to go out and get explosive. And I think explosives are the way that you exploit that Green Bay offense. So I don't want to mess with the total. That's my conclusion is don't mess with the total.
Any interest now, House, to go in and bet in Green Bay to go and win the division? Or with Minnesota being involved, is that too complicated?
It's probably too complicated. Let's see what kind of price we can get here for Green Bay as the division winner. That will build the case one way or the other. Yeah, so they're 14-1 to win the division. The Vikings are 5-1, and the Lions are minus 460 at this point. Now, if you pull up the Lions schedule, that it is not from here on out. It's home against the Packers, home against the Bills, at the Bears, which is like no cakewalk, at the Niners. Who knows?
See, that Niner game, you don't know what you get.
You have
Are
no
you going to
idea.
get an invested, incentivized Niner team, or the Niners done? That's tough.
And they finish home against the Vikings. So and
I can tell you the Niners are done.
The Niners are done. Yes, we agree.
They're finished.
Yeah.
That's going to be a game where the Lions are going to get up for it in a manner that they haven't got up for a game all year long.
The only interesting, it's funny, I'm looking at the division prices, and they're probably not worth a flyer on fading Detroit. 14-1, I think they price in, hey, Green Bay already lost to Minnesota, already lost to Detroit. There's just too much for them to overcome. Detroit's probably going to win that division. The interesting division bets, the AFC North, it's tight. Pittsburgh's at minus 160. Baltimore's at plus 130. The South, obviously, where that number has plummeted. Remember, Atlanta and Tampa, you could have gotten Tampa at like 5-1 2 to 3 weeks ago. They're now at plus 110. Atlanta at a small favorite at minus 140. And then this is going to be a nice little segue and tease for what we're going to do coming up next. Guys, put this in the memory bank. Seattle plus 145. Arizona plus 180. Rams plus 290. And to your point, Raheem, FanDuel and our friends out in Las Vegas agree with you that the Niners are cooked because they're 14-1 to win the division. Doesn't that tell you all you need to know, Raheem?
It definitely tells you all you need to know. But I think the interesting thing that we're skipping over is that FanDuel has odds to be the number one seed. The Detroit Lions right now are minus 185. The Philadelphia Eagles are plus 190. And I think the Eagles are super live to steal the number one seed.
Ooh, juicy. Especially with that schedule coming up. And if Detroit slips up once or twice, that'd be problematic for the Lions because I'd much rather have that game in the climate-controlled 72, beautiful dome. Don't got to worry about the rabid Philadelphia Eagle fans and their dog mass and the hooting and hollering. You don't want that if you're Detroit. If you think I'm wrong, go ask Case Keenum and the Minnesota Vikings how it was going to Philly to play an NFC title game on the road. Or Brock Purdy and the San Francisco 49ers that were out of the game from Jump Street. So I like it. The boys are united. Packers plus 3.5. Raheem, would you play them to win the game?
I would, but I want to be safe and take the points.
All right, we'll be on a united front with this. Plus 3.5. That's our family play from the East Coast Bias boys. All right. I mentioned Seattle, Arizona. I think it's the game of the week. It's a bet I've already made. I think I'm going to get more unity from the guys on this one. We got a lot more Week 14 games to break down. We'll come right back. All right, gents. Seattle, Arizona. Raheem, I know you were all over this because just 2 weeks ago, you had Arizona as a small favorite taking on the Seahawks. The Seahawks won the game. Now we have the line adjusted where Arizona, who was favored by 1.5 on the road in Seattle, is now on FanDuel, favored by 2.5 at -1.
So I got to correct you. I took Seattle in that first game.
No, I know you did.
Yeah. But what I did was, right after that first game, I saw that Arizona was laying -1.5 in this game coming up at home against Seattle, which is the same line that they were laying on the road. So I suggested that everybody go ahead and grab the number early. And now you see right now on FanDuel Sportsbook, that number is -2.5. So you got ahead of the market.
You did. At 1.5 or 2.5, House. I love the Cardinals in this game. To me, the Cardinals played well enough to win with the exception of red zone and some coaching from Jonathan Gannon that ended up being costly in the game against the Vikings. They outplayed Seattle for a good chunk of that game 2 weeks ago if it wasn't for terrible Kyler Murray decision-making and a pick six that decided it. And I know this because we all had the Seahawks last week. Seattle was incredibly fortunate to beat the Jets. I mean, they did everything in their power to hand the Jets, who stink and are checked out on the year, a chance to go and win the game. I don't see Seattle sweeping them, House. I'm all over Arizona in this game.
Yeah, I can't get there, JJ. This is too much of a coin flip game for me. And the true challenge is I need to see Arizona in the red zone get back to its old scoring ways. Just in general, the Seahawks have won 6 in a row, 7 of the last 8 in this series. Arizona with Kyler as a home favorite haven't been good. 1-5 straight up in his last 6 games as a home favorite. 5-11 against the spread as a home favorite. 3-7 against the spread in the last 10. Geno Smith 5-0 as a Seahawk at Arizona. 4 of those wins by 10 points.
A lot of trends I don't want to hear right now, House. I got to be honest with you.
I'm just telling you, it's a caution for me. The only thing that I feel strongly about, and that absolutely positively, I've already gotten money down on it. The total was 45.5. It's down to 44.5. It's an under. 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 It is one of my favorite plays of the week. Is the under of the total in this game. Both defenses have been coming on over the past month, and both offenses have had their struggles. It at 44.5, I absolutely adore the under, and that's the way I'm going to play it, Dream.
Yeah, I'm struggling with this one as well. I did get ahead of the market, but the thing that concerns me is the Arizona offense. I think, House hit the nail on the head when he mentioned the red zone offense, but I just think the offense in general. Let's look at what they've done the last couple of weeks. They scored 6 points against Seattle, and then they put up 22 against the Vikings. And it just feels like, the games before that, they played the New York Jets, who we know have been struggling, and then the Chicago Bears. So I don't know what this team is right now offensively. Now, I do think the defense is extremely solid. And I do think Geno Smith, when I look at him right now, it just feels like it's a miniature version of Jameis almost. It's just, you just don't know what you're going to get. He's going to have a couple of turnover worthy throws. He's going to have a couple of boneheaded plays. So like I thought I wanted to take Arizona coming into this game, but I just can't back this offense right now. So I think what I'm probably going to do is hope that this number gets to 3 and try to buy back and middle this game. But I mean, my model has this game 42, and at 44, I do probably think there's some value. But even this one kind of scares me a little bit because these two teams played 2 weeks ago. And with them playing 2 weeks ago, and you have a 16-6 final, I think you're going to see some adjustments. So it's just like I just can't get anywhere on this game at all.
Fair enough. Okay, Raheem.
Mm-hmm.
We have Kirk Cousins going up against his old team. How exciting. Kirk Cousins, who was dreadful last week and cost the Atlanta Falcons their game against the Los Angeles Chargers. 5.5. Minnesota has not exactly been blowing out teams. Now, I know Cousins has looked awful for basically every single game, except, of course, when he's playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Other than that, it's been a rough season for Cousins coming off the Achilles. I have a hard time saying with certainty, yeah, I'm going to be on Atlanta. But I just think this line has gotten a little out of whack. I think Atlanta is actually undervalued in this game. And if I had to make a play on it, I would take the Falcons plus the points. Is that insane?
Whew. I do think it's insane. And
fair enough. I knew it going in. That's why I said I knew it going in.
I think it's very insane when you look at Kirk Cousins and in the manner in which he's played. And he's played poorly to the point where it's literally him losing these games. Like, they should have won that game against the Chargers if he just doesn't throw interceptions. And it doesn't feel like he's healthy at all. And now you got to go up against a Brian Flores blitz. And this is probably one of the toughest defenses he's going to face all year. And when you look at some of the other tough defenses he's played, the Steelers, the Seahawks, the Broncos, the Chargers, he didn't cover any of those games. The Vikings are 8th in EPA per play allowed. So if he's immobile and he can't deal with the blitz, I just don't know how you back him in this situation, even if it is a Kirk Cousins revenge game. I think the one caveat about this game is that what are you going to get from Sam Darnold? But this Falcons defense isn't good at all. So I think you almost got to lay it with Minnesota or pass.
Yeah, JJ, this is an enormous smash spot for House. I just can't overstate.
So you love this game. Interesting.
Oh, I adore. See, I think that the reason this is under 7 points is because Minnesota, and Dream had this handicapped so well last week, coming off of its 3-game stretch of being on the road, came home after Thanksgiving, had their Thanksgiving with their families, and then had to go out and play football against Arizona. And it really took them about 3 quarters to get going. Now, they did get going. They came back and grabbed that game right away from Arizona. But I think a full week home to prepare this defense. And look, I'm going to make a comparison, and you guys can look at me sideways. I think Kirk Cousins is beyond repair. This isn't a rough patch. He's not going through something that he can figure out. The dude is out. This is just like, I'm sorry to say it out loud, this is like Joe Biden. It only goes in one direction. You can't get younger. That was the problem with Biden. Kirk Cousins can't get healthy. It's not that he's got something that he needs to figure out. He can't move. This defense is going to annihilate him. I think that this is a multiple sack game, and I think the Atlanta season is over. I am prepared to go ahead and invest heavily in Tampa to win that division.
Hey, I already have it, House, so that's music to my ears at 4-1.
I look at their schedule, and you say, oh, well, they have the Giants, they have the Raiders. None of those games are winnable. I think we're going to see Michael Penix. I think they're going to have to start from scratch. I think their season, I have maybe one more game for the Falcons. It's a lost season because Cousins can't play anymore.
And no surprise, the 2 quarterbacks coming off torn Achilles in the back 9 of their careers have both stunk this year. Aaron Rodgers has stunk for the Jets. Kirk Cousins has stunk for the Vikings, or now the Falcons. It was with the Vikings. That's where he got hurt. You know where I'm going. The point being is, this is something you got to be aware of, Raheem. Like when you look at teams and assume, I know Kirk Cousins had an outstanding career, Aaron Rodgers has had a Hall of Fame career. They are not 25 years old. Hey, Dan Marino came back off a torn Achilles, had a couple of good years, but was never the same. That was in the 1990s. Even with modern medicine being what it is, Achilles at 40, 41 years old, 36, 37, that's tough to overcome, Dream.
It's very tough to overcome. Now, I have a question for you, House, because I think this is the one thing that's probably keeping me off the Vikings, or just, turning this really into a smash spot. Vikings couldn't beat the Jaguars, Bears, Cardinals by more than 5. Why are we trusting them to beat Atlanta by more than 5?
That's my issue. Excellent question. Excellent question.
Just because I think what we saw out of Kirk Cousins last week, him making a donation to the cause, that to me is really the game changer. Here's the other aspect of it. Underrated. We keep talking about it on our Monday East Coast bias. Younghoe Koo stinks. He's bad. He is costing them their field goal kicker for Atlanta. See, part of the game plan for Atlanta should have been each time they got inside the 30-yard line to not let Kirk Cousins throw the effing ball anymore, just let Koo come out and kick. But Koo can't kick. He stinks. He's been bad. He missed 3 field goals a couple weeks ago. They get inside the 40, and he used to be automatic, and now he's not. And that is a problem that they cannot overcome. It is why another factor for me with Minnesota, I think the Cousins under duress is going to be an absolute disaster. I do think that there's at least, look, man, I'm going to be in the alternate markets playing over 1.5 interceptions with Cousins. And on top of that, Koo under for whatever his point total is kicking. I really like Minnesota, because Minnesota's got a genuine opportunity to not only win their division, they'll see what happened in that Detroit Green Bay game, but look, they're also legitimately in the running for number 1 seed in the NFC. It's a bit of a long shot, but they're in the running for it. I just think they put the pedal down and smash this Atlanta team.
Guy House all over the Vikings laying the 5.5. I have a game I really like. We'll come back. It's juicy. It's on Sunday night. I can't wait to watch this one. Also, Buffalo may be overvalued this week. We'll dive into that. We'll come right back. Guys, Sunday night, cannot wait for this game. Chargers playing great for Harbaugh. Chiefs, House, they had no business beating the Raiders. They should have lost to the Raiders. I can't believe I'm saying this because I never bet them. And I mean never. I never, ever, 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 ever feel like I'm on the Kansas City Chiefs. I love them on Sunday. I think they're going to play a big game. I think the motivation of playing a division rival kicks in. I think as poorly as they played, it's additional motivation for Andy Reid to give him a kick in the rear. You give me extra rest. You give me Mahomes as a small-ish favorite. And I didn't love what I saw from the Chargers on Sunday against the Falcons. McConkey beat up, not having J.K. Dobbins. I mean, Justin Herbert threw for 140 passing yards against Atlanta. I'm all over the Chiefs here, House. This is one of my favorite plays of the week. It might be my wise wager. Give me Kansas City laying the 4.
Yeah, I have no problem at all with that handicap. I do think that, division game for the Chiefs, they are not messing around one bit with this. They have a new left tackle that they're putting in that I think is going to be helpful in terms of giving our boy some extra time back there to pass. All of his weapons are finally rounding into form. I do think we're going to see some Isaiah Pacheco, but really it's another horrible travel spot for the Chargers. It was already a horrible travel spot going to Atlanta, and the only reason they won that game was because Atlanta served it up on a Kirk Cousins platter. This is brutal. And, McConkey, if he isn't 110% full go, they have no weapons whatsoever. We just watched it. Herbert and McConkey are the entire offense. If that defense can't score for the Chargers, I don't know how they get to 17 points. I'll probably be looking at their team total under as one of the ways to play this game. But I'm also totally fine with laying the points, JJ.
Yeah, I think House hit the nail on the head once again. I mean, they brought in DJ Humphrey at left tackle, and that should be huge. But when I look at the Chargers last week, they gave up 5 sacks to the Atlanta Falcons, who haven't had a pass rush all year. And then you look at, they've ran 15 plays in the second half and had 40 total yards. So even though this Kansas City Chiefs defense has been struggling, like, this line doesn't make any sense. Like, the Chiefs were laying 7 to the Chargers earlier this year. The Chargers don't have J.K. Dobbins or Ladd McConkey, and somehow, they're only catching 4. Like, I think these two teams are in different classes, and every single time the Chargers have stepped up in class this year, they've gotten smashed. And that includes against the Steelers. That includes against the Ravens. And I think the same thing is going to happen here against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think you got to roll with Mahomes here.
Buffalo and the Rams. Raheem, is Buffalo fairly priced at 4.5? Are they being overinflated because of the Sunday night win?
I don't think they're being overinflated at all. I have the Buffalo Bills as the second highest power rated team in the NFL. And I look at the Rams as a team they're fraudulent. Like, every time they step up in class, they struggle too. You saw it against the Philadelphia Eagles. They had nothing against the Philadelphia Eagles, and it just felt like you can run the ball on this team. So I think James Cook is going to have a big day. And to be honest with you, they could have lost that game against the New Orleans Saints. So I have no problem with, like, the square play on the Buffalo Bills here.
Yeah, I'm on the Bills as well, and I don't think that you have to really torture yourself, do mental gymnastics to get there. The Bills have scored 30 or more points in 6 straight games, and they've hit 30 or more points 9 times this season against the NFC West. They have wins of 35-10, 31-10, and 34-28. But the really crucial thing is this Rams offense is not really functional, and we've been watching it, now for several weeks, anticipating that it would get going, anticipating that it would look to us like we saw down the stretch last year when the Rams got hot and were a very live candidate in the playoffs to pull off an upset against Detroit. But there is a phenomenon, especially with Buffalo. You also see this with Baltimore. When they play NFC teams on the road, NFC teams aren't prepared for Josh Allen, aren't prepared for the offense. Sean McDermott is 12-4 against the spread against the NFC on the road, and he covers by double digits when they play those. And the Bills have just been a cover machine. They've covered by 5.5 or more in 5 of the last 7. I love Matt Milano's return. They're healthier on D. I'm fine with laying the points.
When we come back, boys, best bets for week number 14. I may have something in the college football world that I might be bringing to the table. So a little mix and match. We'll wrap it up with a bang right after this. It's now time for best bets, and I'm going to give you a player or two I like in the NFL. But before we hear from the guys, there's a big weekend of college football coming up as we're trying to figure out who's in, who's out for the playoffs. A lot of these championship games, they're really far more about seeding than anything else, so be careful. I see 2 that I really like, guys. I am 100% taking Texas. They lost to Georgia the first matchup. I thought that was a fluky game. I thought it was a weird game. Texas has been a better team all year. Georgia was lucky to beat Georgia Tech last weekend. Line's gone from 1.5 to 2.5. I am on the Longhorns. Saturday, SEC title game. Sign me up right now. And if you want a rat line, and I know our buddy Cousin Sal's not going to like this, Penn State never beats good teams. Ever. They're only 3.5 against undefeated Oregon. The entire world is going to bet Oregon in that game. I'm not taking a bait. I think Penn State finds a way to keep it close. Oregon's in. I think this game means a lot more for Penn State. It's finally a chance for them to go and showcase themselves on the grand stage. Hey, we can beat a good team. I'm taking them plus 3.5. I might be certifiably insane. Franklin never wins these games. But those are 2 plays, House, for the college football Saturday if you want to get involved. Texas and the Lions of Penn State.
I very rarely bet college football, but I like the idea of having a little action now that December is upon us. I'll go ahead and tell you, JJ, not in big increments because I don't play college, but I'll
there you go. Just to have a little
tiny
fun,
bit,
little
just
skin
have
in the game.
Have a little rooting interest. That's all. I support it.
Now I need your NFL best bets, though. Raheem, are you betting any college this weekend or no?
No, I don't have anything right now, but if I do, I'll share something.
You might get involved. It's Thursday. I think by Friday or Saturday with no NFL going on, I know the NBA is hopping. Don't be surprised if Raheem gets involved. And by the way, great. What a performance by my Knicks yesterday against the Magic. What a beatdown that was, House. But anyway, I need some poise for you. NFL, take it away.
So you guys didn't know this, but you set me up perfectly. We're going to fade the frauds. I have a money line parlay. We are going to play the Minnesota Vikings on the money line parlayed with the Miami Dolphins on the money line. You can get that parlay at -112. Minnesota's home against Atlanta. Miami home against the New York Jets. The two quarterbacks with the busted Achilles on the road. I love the situation of this combo. Not only is this going to be this moneyline parlay -112 on the FanDuel Sportsbook right now, going to be my Thursday best bet, wise wager come Sunday morning. You're just going to hear me repeat this. This is my favorite play of the week, the combination of these two teams, Minnesota and Miami, going up against these busted fraudulent quarterbacks. I'm going to grab ahead of you guys the Green Bay Packers on the money line +142 for Thursday Night Football. Those are my two best bets this week.
Dream.
All right, I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers +3.5. I'm also going to go with a really ugly one, and this is really ugly. I'm going with the New York Jets +6.5. I can't get to this number at all. I mean, this number, let's make sense of it. The New York Jets have been the most overvalued team the entire season. Literally the entire season, they've been laying points. So how do you get from them laying 1.5 against the Seahawks last week to them catching 6.5 against the Dolphins, who, I hate to say, they haven't been good. So I think this number should be closer to 3.5. So at 6.5, I'm seeing value. Give me that. I'm also going to take the Chicago Bears +3.5, +4. New coaching hire to get rid of Eberflus. I think they were sick of that guy. I think the San Francisco 49ers, look, Nick Bosa has been hurt. They're coming off that snow game, got to fly back west. I think the Bears are probably going to win this game outright, but I'm going to take the 3.5. That's my 3 plays.
I understand your point on the Jet line being maybe undervalued and the line being a little out of whack. I just got to wonder, Raheem, and I'm not taking that game, if for some reason the books are factoring in the quit factor for the Jets that now could be starting to ramp up. And remember, a couple of key injuries for the Jets. Don't know about Sauce Gardner yet. Don't know about Breece Hall. Don't know about Morgan Moses. So maybe that's coming into the cap. But
that won't be my wisest wager. But
no, but it's ugly. I get it.
Show, I got to take it.
I think Miami's a tease spot. I would not play him. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tease Miami and Tampa. I know it's square. I'll take the two Florida teams. All they got to do is win against the Raiders and the Jets. I think they'll find a way to do that. Kansas City, I told you guys I'm all over the Chiefs. I'm laying the 4, and it's Thursday night. Packers +3.5. Let's go out with a bang. That's going to do it for East Coast Bias. Raheem, House, and JJ signing off. We'll be back Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern. I'm going to be glowing, hopefully with a little sunshine on my face, getting ready for the Ringer Sunday pregame. We'll see you then on FanDuel TV. Boys are out. Enjoy your weekend. Be good, everybody.